this thing going? Or you
Doing all right. Doing all right.
I can. I don't know. I'm not even on this committee, so.
You're on my own.
Charter can't override state law, and state law says I'm not on it.
Okay, I'm not on anything.
It specifically sets out who can be on it, and if you're not one of them. But I'll go ahead and open up here. Let's do this. Is the first meeting of the Ethics Committee. I think there's 5 members. On one night here is Ms. Cornwell. She's sick. So first order of business is election of officers. First one will be the chair. Since we need somebody to take over the meeting, we want to have a nomination for chair.
I nominate Landon Gully to be chair.
We have a nomination for Landon Gully, seconded by Mr. Harsh, seconded by Ms. Crowder. Are there any other nominations for chair? Any other nominations for chair? All right. Since I see no other nominations, all in favor of electing Landon Gully as chair of the Ethics Committee, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Congratulations, Mr. Gully. You're chair of the Ethics Committee, and I'm going to turn this meeting over to you.
That was easy.
Thanks. I guess we can do it from up here. I don't know what it is. I guess we need to take nominations for vice chair and then for secretary. So I guess we'll open the floor for vice chair. I like it. Okay. Any other nominations? No other nominations there in this case. All those in favor of Mr. Richard Hart being vice chair? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were asking a question. So at that point, we need to elect a secretary. She looks like she's already started off doing a really good job.
Looks like she's doing a great job. I knew I should like this.
So, any other nominations for secretary?
You got a second? You got a second?
I do not.
All right, I'll second.
Thank you. Any other nominations for secretary there in this case? Hearing none, take a vote here on Mr. Johnson being secretary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
There we are at that point. I guess, as here I am thrown into this seat, Mayor, we were calling this together for an organization meeting, I think. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It's kind of oversight on my part. The ethics policy required that after the committee was appointed, they should have had, as soon as possible, had an organizational meeting, and that just escaped my attention. I believe this is actually the first ever meeting of the ethics committee, even though it's been established years and years and years ago. This is actually the first meeting of the committee, so that was the first Board of Action was, of course, electing the officers. And I've had couple of commissioners voice oral complaints to me, but I have not received a written complaint. I think that's required by the ethics policy. I have not received one, so I don't know if any other committee members have received one, but I have not.
I think I read some stuff you sent me there a couple weeks ago stated as well as you said there, the chair, or maybe said the mayor as well, had to receive a written complaint, ethical complaint before anything was to be decided on. Is that the way I read it, I believe?
I believe so. I'm trying to go off memory. I haven't looked at it since we talked, but I think it required a written complaint, and at the time I had not received one and have not received one since. And like I said, I don't know if any of the committee members have.
Anyone have any written complaints? I think, and I know I've read it a time or two. The mayor sent me some stuff on our organization when he called us, I guess, and asked us a couple of years ago if we were willing to be part of this. I read it then, but after I heard we were calling this, I called him again and asked him for another copy of those to make sure I read up on them. And from my understanding, a written complaint would have to be presented, and then the committee could look on that written complaint. So I guess at this point, it's just organization.
This begins a procedure that would start an investigation that could potentially lead to criminal charges if anything is found. So a written complaint would be required at the beginning because the court would have to go back and look at it and see if it was valid to begin with. As you and I talked about, it seems like the procedure would be a written complaint is served, it's given to the committee. They would first meet to see if it basically is like a probable cause determination, see if there's any grounds to go forward. If the committee felt like there were, then it would be assigned to the county attorney for investigation. The county attorney would do an investigation, then file a report with the committee, and then the committee would decide what kind of action to take going forward.
that part, but in this case, there's really no other information we can deal with. I know Mr. Harsh and I even discussed, for myself, I'm gonna do a little more reading, get an idea of where we're really at, and what this committee's bounds are, and where those bounds are at, at this point, especially being thrown in this position as we're gonna go along. I don't mind a bit. Appreciate that, Mr. Harsh. But as we move along, I want to do some more myself. Because when you look at it, it really looks in, when you look into it, you look into a lot of case laws. When you get into case laws and ethics, you start to see a lot of different routes. So we really need to do a little bit of research in that part. That's something I urge each of our members to do as we go forward. I don't know if we'll have any more meetings. Nothing's been sent to us or handed to us. So.
And this committee, it's a one-year term, so it should be up for reappointment again in September. And I would just advise the committee, if you do receive a written complaint, given that the ethics policy mentions numerous state statutes, and as you said, case law would go along with that, I would suggest this committee, if it ever gets to that point, really value the opinion of the county attorney and any advice they give you, because if you try to look at it, you're never going to get exactly what it is you're looking for, because some of those case laws are going to be so in depth and so fact specific that it's really going to be turned on legal opinion. And I think that's where the initial, again, I hate to say probable cause determination, but that's what I'm used to see if there's any grounds to go forward, and if there are, that's where you're turned over to the county attorney for investigation, and they would come back with a report saying this is what they found, this is the action they recommend, and here's the law they're relying on.
Really nice there for us to I guess in the future we would have an opportunity to have our mayor, our county attorney be with us present.
Yes, sir. We got to keep in mind that he is up for possible criminal court judge, and I think he's probably got a pretty good shot at it, so we may be hiring another county attorney. But
another road we can cross as we cross it.
Right, but whether it's Mr. Beller or anyone else, like I said, I would highly recommend when it comes down to that, based on their legal expertise, and that this is basically starting a legal procedure that really take into account the advice given to you by your legal counsel.
In the filing of this written complaint, is there a form, a standard form, or do we have anything like that?
There's not a standard form mentioned in the ethics policy, and I haven't found one on any MTAS thing. I think it's just something, it can be just a simple letter saying, here's the complaint. Now, they do need to give some kind of basis of it, just like if you were filing a complaint, not nearly in depth as you were in court, but there has to be some kind of allegation and some factual basis for that allegation for the committee to make a determination whether there's any grounds to go forward. And I think in speaking to Mr. Beller, he would, if it did come to that point, he would like for anybody to submit a complaint to have to provide names of potential witnesses and whatnot so they could be spoken to in the investigation to go forward.
Will this be monthly, quarterly, or only?
It's only supposed to meet as needed based on the submission of a written complaint. As I said, the provision requiring it to meet as soon after it's appointed escaped my notice for some reason, and I have to apologize to the committee for that. But so this is just to follow up on that. Once there were some commissioners talked to me, and I think some word got back to Mr. Gull. He called and asked me about the committee, and we looked at it, and there was provision there saying it should have met soon after it's appointed. And then we scheduled the meeting as soon as we could, giving adequate public notice. So, but other than that, it's just to meet as needed. And as I said, I think this committee was first appointed somewhere around 2014, 15, maybe even earlier than that. I don't remember. I know it's required by state law, and this is the first time it's ever actually met.
So it's only reactive if there is an actual complaint?
Yeah, it's only meets if there is an actual complaint filed. Other than that, there is no business for it to meet for.
That's the same findings as well. Yeah, exactly what information that was given on this commission. You go in, or this committee, you go and read that piece, the initial piece of this committee's formations, foundations for why we need good advice for us as we go forward. So, with nothing else, I guess we need to take. I guess I want to have a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
To adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
I guess consider ourselves adjourned.